be
I'm not a hypocrite. I don't punch someone that I don't care that much about. I'm sure.
No, that's what he doesn't say.
No.
Now, Aunt Louise, I want you to tell me, because I can't get it straight. When Grandma and Pap got married, where did they live?
They got married in Ohio, Zanesville, Ohio.
Okay. Then where'd they go?
Well,
Where did Pap work then?
the best that I can remember, he worked on the railroad.
Okay. Then they moved to...
Roseville, Ohio, and he still works on the railroad.
Did Grandma work then?
No, 'cause I came along.
Mhm.
She worked hard.
And then what happened?
You're working 2 jobs.
And then Mom learned to cook. And she said she had a pot, and she was going to cook some rice, and she just dumped the whole package in there. And she said the rice began to come, and she started dipping. And she said she dipped and she dipped. She learned how to cook, though, didn't she?
Mhm.
Yes, she did.
And then when did they move to Moundsville?
Oh, I don't know. I was very young. John was born.
That's 4 years too.
John was born in Ohio. I don't know if he
John was
was
born in Ohio?
He was born in West Virginia.
but I don't know where he was born. But if I,
In the United States.
I think he was hatched. I think they hatched him. I was sat under a rock.
Yeah, he's under a rock. In a basket or something.
You ain't no closer to the truth now than you was when you
I know. I'm trying to get some information here. Then did they move to West Virginia then?
They moved to West Virginia when we were very, very young.
And then that's when Pap worked with Astoria?
John and I both started first grade there. All of our schooling was done.
What was the name of that school? Do you remember?
We went to 3rd Street School.
3rd Street School? First Street School?
Third.
3rd Street School.
Lou and Hazel went to 1st Street School after they moved over to Cox Street.
Oh, okay.
And Oda and Oscar and Dolores went to Parkview School.
Yeah.
It was real close to the house. It only had 3 grades, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
And I was in the 3rd grade 2 years.
All right.
I liked my teacher so well, man, I just stayed there 2 years.
And you didn't want to lose your friend, did you?
No, sir. That's the best teacher I ever had.
You learned more from her than anybody.
Yeah.
You had the same teachers that I
Well then, is that when Grandma went to work for the stamping company?
Oh,
Lou's kids had the same.
I must have been married because I can't remember when she went to work there. When I was still home, she was working at a restaurant right across the street from the glass house.
You think that's how,
And then the war broke out. And then everybody scattered. Mom went to Weirton Steel to work, and I worked at Bone Aluminum shell plant in Glendale. And then Aunt Liza wrote us a letter and said there was plenty of work up in Detroit, because that's where they were making shells and everything there was for the Army and the Navy and the Marines and the Air Force. What I wanted to do, I wanted to join the wax, but everybody told me that wasn't a good job. But I wish now I had gone on.
yeah.
At least I'd have got some
You'd
exercise.
have looked cute in that outfit.
At least you would have got what?
I at least had some good exercise.
How did you meet Uncle James?
I was living there in an apartment in Aunt Liza's, and I was working in a plant there in Michigan. And he knew Aunt Liza, because his mother had come up there and got a job working in a ore plant. And he was up there, and Bob's wife Frances was up there, and just everybody from they called it Little Kentucky and Tennessee, because all these people that were out of work or worked on farms, they went there and grew.
Louise.
And so that's how Miss Comstock was in home from the army to see his mother.
So did he serve in World War II, Uncle James?
He was in the army, that's all I know.
You don't know where he served
I
or
don't
anything?
think he went overseas.
He didn't go overseas? He was in the army, huh? Well, then he swept you off your feet?
No.
No?
It was one of them, there wasn't a spark.
There wasn't no spark.
No, he just, I liked him.
Yeah,
and
You
he
just liked him, huh?
No sparks, just a lot of smoke.
But I grew, I grew to really care for him. And my heart would just ache when things wouldn't go right for him.
Yeah.
You know, and he was having problems with all that, and I couldn't help him. You know how that is.
Well, then, when did they move to West Virginia?
Well, Jimmy
He never lived in West Virginia?
John and I, well, Grandma lived out in Moundsville, way back in the country, clear up the top of Grave Creek. She lived there. And Uncle Charlie had been visiting out in Zanesville, and he brought, I think, Uncle Bruce down there with him one time. And Uncle Bruce fell in love with Aunt Lively, and he took her back. And they got married, and so Mom, they come one time, they took Mom out there to Aunt Lizzie's house. And that's when Dad, Mom was only 17.
That's when she met Pat?
That's when Dad proposed to her. He was a cute little guy. And in his
He
own
looked
way.
like a mobster to me.
A mobster?
Yeah, he looked like a mobster.
And did he grow up, did Pat grow up in Zanesville? Did Pat grow up in Zanesville?
Yeah, he grew up out towards Dresden, the little German
Well,
settlement.
did he get in trouble and had to leave town?
Now, don't ask me stuff that I don't know nothing about. I don't like
I never heard that.
Or was that his daddy?
Well, I don't know.
No, his daddy never
I
got
talk
in
about
trouble.
hearsay.
Well, then were the rest of the kids all born in West Virginia?
Yeah.
Only you and Uncle John were the only ones that weren't born. No, not John.
I don't know where John was born at.
And live in the house that's still there in West Virginia where Aunt Lou lives? Is that where y'all grew up?
We didn't.
No.
We were all born before that.
That's not where you grew up?
No, the house that we lived in was, well, to begin with, they didn't have no house to live in. But Uncle Dewey and Aunt Viola lived down over the hill, and they had a little house. And so Dad, Mom, and me, and I think she was pregnant for John, and Aunt Viola and Uncle Dewey let them come there and stay. And Albert, they had a bunch of goats in the yard. And Albert, he used to go out and get in a little goat house and eat hominy. And he said, come and eat some hominy with me. And I looked at it, and I looked at them goat droppings, and it looked just alike. It do. And I just wasn't hungry.
You didn't want to eat no hominy, huh?
I
knew there was a reason I
didn't like hominy.
Hey, you know, I'm getting an education too.
You're back in the third grade, I'm on.
I graduated from the 3rd grade, man. Now, what did they call the Red House? I remember something about a red house.
Is that the schoolhouse?
No, that's where we live.
Oh.
And we moved from the Red House.
Well, the Red House is on Magnolia Avenue. And that's where Cora Stanley and her husband moved in the last I heard, but she died. And down over the hill from the Red House was Angel Swamp, campground like. Whenever they had carnivals or something like that, they'd have it down over the hill there, not far from our house.
Okay. Down by where the old Snowder used to be.
Oh, no, that's way down the river.
Oh, okay.
No, we lived on Magnolia. Get Lou to take you by there.
I know where it's at.
Well, get her to take
I
you by
think.
there. And
Okay, we moved from the Red House over to a little store.
that was on Annadale Avenue.
Okay. Now, from the Red House to there is where I can remember. I can't remember nothing back.
You don't
farther than that.
remember going to Hancock Street?
That's Uncle Dewey's house.
And that was
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
from the old brickyard.
Yeah, Rockyard, yeah.
And Gorby's lived next door.
Yeah. But going back from the red house, I can remember moving because Uncle Ben brought his horse and wagon to haul our furniture, and I created an old grandfather clock. And there was a kid, I think, lived next door to us across the street, had a rooster he called Oscar.
That's how Uncle Oscar got his name.
Did Grandma name
And
you
that's about all I can remember. But it seemed like that house we moved into, up front of that, was in a store.
Well, he wasn't in
It
a
had a
store.
big porch out front.
That was on Annandale Avenue, and there was a store on the side, but in our living room, you could open the door and go into the store.
Oh, okay.
But nobody ran the store until the people across the street, they wanted to run that store. Mom told them that that'd be fine, we would not bother it, everything would be fine. So they went ahead and brought stuff over there, you know, and I mean, they came over there from right across the street, and their names were, I don't even remember. And anyhow, they, finally, though, they made a place in their house for a store.
Oh.
And you could go in their front door into a little place where they had a store. And then we lived there for a while, and then Uncle Dewey was wanting to go down to South Carolina.
Right, yeah.
He was wanting to be a preacher,
Yeah.
so they sent him down, some church sent him down there. And
Well, I don't
so-
know why he went down there.
Yeah, the church, they sent
And
that's
he's
what
a
they
preacher? Did he ever become a preacher?
did. Well,
Well, if you want to
became
call it preacher.
some kind of,
What do you mean by that? What kind of preacher was he?
I never heard him preach.
I don't think.
Did he live
But
like
I-
a preacher should live?
But you know, a preacher ain't supposed to drink or chew or do all that stuff.
And he did all that?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
no, we had very, very good Uncle Grover and
Yeah.
Uncle Dewey, and I don't remember Uncle Bud. They were good people.
I don't remember Dewey that well. But I
Knuckle
remember
Bed.
Bud, Grover, and Dewey. But not Dewey too well because when he come back, we had to move. He come back and stayed with us till Mom and them
And
found
we
the house.
moved up on Poorhouse Hill.
Right.
Why'd you move up on Poorhouse Hill?
Because he kicked us out.
There was a
kicked
nice
him?
house
Well,
there.
that was a good brother there.
He didn't kick us out, he had to have his house.
He just wanted his house.
So y'all lived in the poorhouse?
No, it was called.
No.
Oh, it's called Poorhouse Hill.
Poorhouse Road.
They call it
Poorhouse
grave.
Road.
It was grave. Anyhow, nobody called it Grave Road or what was it?
Graveyard
Hill
Road?
or something.
No.
I can't, but anyhow, way up past there was a poorhouse up there where they kept people that
Didn't have any homes.
that didn't have homes. They'd go up there and they would take care of them up there, and they called it the poorhouse.
Yeah, and then on
And that's
over,
why that road got the name of the Poorhouse Hill, because it was a hill way up to it.
and
it
it
was
was
way up on
straight
top.
up. Yeah.
It was pretty up there, man.
Yeah, I
Nice
loved it up
big
there.
place up there. And I think Mom worked up there for a while. I'm not
I did
sure.
too.
Did you?
And I liked it. We had a nice house. It wasn't like houses today, but it was a nice house. We had a bathroom, I think, didn't we?
It was a nice house
I
for,
know you could take
just
a tub.
one of the best houses on the road. It was a double
Did they
story.
own it or were they renting it?
We rented.
I think they just rented that. And I think the only home that they bought was one on 55 Highland Avenue.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one that they ever bought, bought.
And so Mom and Dad bought that house, and I bought bedroom suite, and John bought a living room suite. And I was working at that time,
And I just moved in with them.
so he
You
didn't.
moved in with who? You moved in with who?
Mom and Dad.
You were still a kid, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I was just one of them little small fries that didn't know no better, didn't know how to do nothing.
Well, how old were you when you got married?
He was in Canton when he got
24, 22?
22.
22.
Did you go into the service? You were in the
Oh,
service.
yeah.
Where did you serve?
Arkansas.
Arkansas?
Michigan.
Michigan?
Michigan.
I was in Detroit, Michigan.
What, were you in the Army, or
Yeah, I was in the Army.
you never went overseas
No,
or
I
anything?
went overseas.
Did you meet him while he was in the Army?
No.
No?
Uh,
Before?
but that was between the wars. That was between the Korean War and the Vietnam War. That's when I served.
Oh, that wasn't World War II.
No. That was between them two wars, the Vietnam and the Korean War. I was right in between them.
They said he could
But,
go to, they said he was going to go to Puerto Rico. And he said, no, I'm not.
I know Lou said when you was in the Army that she said you wrote to her and said you wanted
What was the name of that highway that
cherry,
John said? Coffee cake?
coffee
Huh?
cake. One
I'm
coffee
gonna
cake.
ask the
And she
Lord.
sent to him in the mail.
What was the name of that highway John said? I'm up here on the, what? Freeway?
No, main drag.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the main drag right out there.
Right here's the main drag.
Yeah.
I'm on the main drag and can't find you.
Well, how did Grandma get to Canton, Ohio?
First we went to
Aunt Lizzie came down, and Aunt Artie, and they had found out about Mose needing somebody. See, Aunt Artie's boys and Connie Newell's kids, they all would go up there. And he was kind of an old man, and
Was he a member of the family, Moses?
no, he just lived there alone on this farm, and he needed help. And they said, they told Mom that she could stay there, wouldn't cost her nothing, and she could cook, and the kids could stay with her.
Is that in Canton?
no, that was
No, that was in Zanesville, Ohio.
What's this Moses' last name? Moses who?
Morse.
Morris?
Was it?
Morris.
I don't know.
So he wasn't married or had children. He was just old, and Grandma took care
He
of
never
him.
married until after he and Mom separated, and then he married a woman.
Who, Mose did?
Yeah, he moved away from the farm
Oh.
and moved off some little Ohio town and got a job.
Mommy
Well,
took care
you
of
don't
Grandma.
So why did she move away from Moses's?
Well, the kids had no opportunity there.
So she moved there, then Canton?
Then she just had me. Then when
I
she
really
worked
don't know
at the
where she
boarding
went
house,
when she left Moses. I think she did go to Canton.
the boarding house.
The John
with,
Duck lived there,
John
and
Jack.
they told her to come down there. And then she got a job at that boarding house.
And Oda lived there, and she had
A room that was a curtain.
just had a curtain.
And I stayed there too afterwards. And that's where I got a job at Timpkin Olderberry. I
Well,
was in that same,
how come you never stayed at Timpson Loderberry?
they laid me off.
And they
Oh,
just had
And,
rooms like,
I think that
and we just had a bed.
Mom and Roy Johnson was together.
Is that when
talking
she
about
met
getting
him
together
at
or
the boarding
something.
house?
He said he
And
would
he
get-
got me a job over at the brickyard when I got laid off. And then I wasn't laid off too long that they called me back and wanted me to go down in the milk shop. And Roy Johnson talked me out of it and talked me into staying at the brickyard. And I wished I hadn't. I wished I would have went back to Timpkin.
You made a lot more money, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would have made more money, but it wasn't a job that I had before, and I didn't care too much about going down there to work at the smelter part of it.
Oh,
I wanted to stay up there where I was at. But if Roy Johnson hadn't said anything, I probably would have went back, because in Timpkin, you could work your way any place you wanted.
Well, see, James worked at Timpkins in Detroit.
I thought he worked at Ford in Detroit.
No, he worked at Timpkins in Detroit.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that was Ford Motor Company he worked at
Well, how did you and Uncle James get to Georgia?
in a car.
Oh, he got the trucking fever.
Yeah? Why Georgia, though? Did he know somebody
No, he
here?
come to Georgia and the truck broke down. So he went around to see if he could find us a place for the night.
Were you in the truck with him?
Yeah, me and Jimmy.
And y'all traveled in the truck with him?
Yeah.
Was that their big, long flatbed truck? The international big, long flatbed truck?
wasn't flatbed. His was, closed in.
Oh.
And so it broke down your place to stay in
He broke
Georgia?
down, and so he just turned it in. He just called the company to come get the truck. Then he went down to Bluebird Truck Company and got a job down there driving truck for somebody. And he done real good until he started wanting to buy a truck of his own.
But so then you decided you liked it here in Georgia, and that's where you wanted to stay?
No,
or?
I didn't, but then, I was married and had a little child. And so you don't just walk
But you
off.
never thought
Yeah,
about
you stayed
moving
where
back to
money was
West
at.
Virginia? Or
Well, James Wood never went back.
you wouldn't?
Employment for him was over up there.
No.
Yeah, but you lived in Kentucky for a long time too before you came to the land.
We lived in Kentucky.
Well, before you got married, was he on a baseball team? White Sox or something like that? The White Sox?
Somebody had invited him to come and
Who, Uncle James?
try out, yeah. That's all he did. He went and tried out.
Oh, but
For the White
he
Sox?
wasn't ever on a team. He just tried out for it.
He just tried out.
He was that good of a ball player?
Oh,
Yeah.
You ought to see,
Oh,
man.
he
He
loved ball.
tore my hands up on the ball.
Well, I know he loved watching it on the set, but I never knew he played it.
Well, I don't know if he was on the team or not. That's what I didn't know.
They invited him to come and try out. Someone had seen him evidently,
But that guy, her name's Mary,
and asked him,
but that guy you was talking about, his wife is dead. But she's a short lady.
Well, what other stories can you tell me from West Virginia?
I'll tell you one about Dad.
Okay?
Grandma used to tell this, and she felt so cute. I don't know if you remember her telling it or not.
Well, no, I might. You
I
can go ahead and
stayed
tell
for the
it.
whole summer.
They
They used to go down the railroad track. I don't know. They'd pick up coal. Did poor people? I think when that's fall off the
Yeah, the
train,
railroad tracks. Yeah, I used to do that too, pick
pick it
up
up
coal.
and take it home,
Yeah.
So I guess Grandma and Granddad would take all the kids and they'd have their sacks
Yeah.
and have to pick up coal.
Son.
Virg, she'd be way back. She'd say, Virg, I'm coming. She said she'd look back. He'd be way back. Virg, come on. I'm coming. Virg, come on. I'm coming as fast as my damn little feet will carry me. My dad. But to hear Grandma tell it, I say
You stayed at Grandma's house a couple years, didn't you, in the
almost
summer?
every summer.
You both of you did.
Well, I think I only stayed out
No,
there
he-
one summer. That's when I was telling you about that doggone turkey getting after me.
Yeah.
Grandma come out there, man. I almost could not run that sucker. He was fast. By the time I'd get to great grandma would be out there with a club, and boy, she'd bump that sucker.
You don't have to stay at the Newells, though, where I was at Grandma's. You stayed with the Newells. John Newell, ma'am, somebody.
Well, I know I was out
John
there.
Victor stayed
And I remember
with the family. No, it was John Oscar.
Barbara Ellen and them stayed at Grandma's. Barbara Ellen and Henry.
Well, Barbara Ellen wasn't married yet.
Well, Henry was there too, somewhere or another. Oh, Henry had a house of his own. He'd come up there,
Yeah.
and they'd take us to town to get groceries, and she'd get a big bag of suckers, man. One a day. Just one sucker a day is all that lady would give us. Yeah. About every so often. You say, well, you gotta go see if the cows are in. I'd have to go out way out in the field, and if there was one out, across the fence or something, or broke the fence down and got out, I'd have to come get Barbara, and then she'd go get that cow and bring it back in and fix the fence up.
She was real skinny.
Yeah, she's a real skinny
And
lady.
people would give her clothes, and she'd have a big old long dress. It probably belonged to somebody 6 foot tall. She'd tie a string around her waist, and then she'd bring her dress up, and it would, to where she got it, and there it would hang around here. I can remember that.
Well, how is she related to us, Barbara Ellen?
Barbara Ellen is
Her
like a
mother
double cousin.
and my mother were sisters.
Oh,
And
yeah?
her dad and my dad were brothers. And we were double cousins.
Oh.
And one time I went out there, and Oscar and Dolores was playing, and I got me a pan of water, and they had gobs of soap. They had soap stacked up.
Light soap.
And I got me a bar of soap, and I just had that pan just a bubbling in the soap. And I just scrubbed them 2 kids, and I washed them and cleaned them and threw that soap out. Margaret said, Ellen said, Grandma, she's just destroying that soap.
I bet we got clean for once, though, huh?
They didn't want you.
Is that where you learned how to scrub it?
Yeah, I still got them old scratch marks all over me from that scrub brush.
But poor old Grandma, you know,
Grandma was,
they were
fat,
poor people.
fat,
They
right?
didn't have much.
When you say grandma, are you talking about Pap-Pap's mama?
Yeah.
Yep.
I got that
Yeah, she was
Sat on
heavy.
a porch in that rocking chair.
She looked like the meanest woman alive to me.
Granddad, just a little old skinny.
Was she mean?
She
She wasn't?
She was real sweet.
Yeah.
And very lovable.
What was his daddy like?
Who's daddy?
Pap-Pap's daddy.
Oh, he was comical. He was a nice man.
He was
I
his
really
dad.
liked him.
Him, Pam?
Like Daddy. He was a cute little
He was shorter than my dad,
Really?
and just about as skinny. He never was heavy that I can remember.
Well, what about Grandma's parents?
I don't remember.
John Doyle and Ella Doyle. And I heard that there were some people that were up a tree. And said this lady, she had 3 little children. And her husband was gone one day, and this John Doyle, he had come over here from, I don't know if it was from Ireland or England, but anyhow, they had sent him over here to spot out some land. And he just happened to be walking by, and he saw this lady there with these 3 little kids. And he must have fell in love with her because he took her. And that was my grandmother, Grandmother Doyle. So he took her.
Did you ever see Grandma Doyle?
Oh, yeah.
I never
I
did.
was
I
there.
don't even remember her.
Yeah, I was there. One time we was all gathered in the kitchen. And Aunt Artie had bought her one of these, you didn't have that, you had rubber.
Yeah.
Had a rubber apron. And she brought Grandma a beautiful yellow rubber apron with ruffles all around it. And we looked, and Barb and Pat Doyle,
Oh.
you get your finger in that and you suck on it and make a bubble inside.
Yeah.
And you crack it. And she's just going to town on that beautiful brand new apron. And somebody looked and there was no
Somebody scratched my leg down there in the way.
I thought that was
It's just on that truck, that they're moving that stuff on.
Yeah, they have to have a signal there.
So when our grandma's mother got married, she already had 3 children.
She had 3 children.
Gee, I thought it was he.
And then
She had 3 children. She had.
she had 3 children. Well, those children's daddy, they never came looking for her.
Well, I don't know. One of them was Aunt Tilly.
No,
And one of them was, I think, Uncle Jim, and one of them's name was Bill.
So they had a different daddy than our
She's about as Irish looking as they come. I remember her, Aunt Tilly.
Yeah.
Isn't she that little woman used to wear them big old spiked
big old
heels?
white heels.
Oh, yeah. That was Tilly.
Had red hair and all.
Even at that, and then Grandma Scott had about how many she had?
Oh, yeah.
Grandma Doyle. Didn't she have about,
They said 18.
18.
Counting the 3 there.
she must have had 15 maybe.
She had 15 children. Do you know them all?
Well, there was Brother Bill. Mom would call them brothers. Brother Bill, Brother Dewey, Brother Grover, Brother Bud. Then there was Aunt Tilly, Aunt Lizzie, Aunt Artie, Clara Jean died. That was 8, wasn't it?
Getting close to 8. Well,
He didn't have none of them.
And I don't remember any of the others. And they lived in a log cabin. And I remember Mom telling me that, But this log cabin, it was a hill straight up. And there'd be little level places, and Grandpa would take the kids up there to plant beans. And you planted anywhere you had a piece of land that you could plant. Well, Mom, she was up planting beans and planting beans. She got tired. So she dug her a little hole, put them all in there, and covered them with a rock. Well, it wasn't long till them beans began to sprout out around that rock. So she got caught. So one day, they was up there working, and Grandpa said, Ned, he called her Ned. Ned, you go down there to the house and see what time it is. And she said, about dinner time, lunchtime. So she took off and went all the way down over that, across that hill. I can see it because I can remember how steep that hill was. She got down to the bottom and found out that it was 10 minutes past 13.
10 minutes past 13.
Nick! That's what this says, 10 minutes past 13. Boy, did he whip her. He got a sweet... When Mom was on her deathbed, she was sitting there, and she said to me, you know, it looks like Dad would have realized that it was at 1 o'clock, you know, 10 minutes after 1. But, you know, I mean, she still remembered that. That hurt her so bad, I guess. You know, when she was back in that bedroom there on Willow Road, she mentioned that. And I said, well, Mom, you know, try not to remember those things. I don't know, she just had too many worries and about the past. But then, what else happened? I remember when Granddaddy Doyle died, he had, what is that you get wrong with your leg? Lumbago?
Lumbago?
Sclerosis.
Oh, cirrhosis.
You know, the big, anyhow, his veins would swell
Varicose
up.
veins.
Huh?
Varicose
No,
veins.
this was called sclerosis of the liver. Anyhow, some kind of leg trouble.
Well,
And they just burst it open. And every one of his daughters was right around him. And I thought that was the prettiest picture I ever saw. There was Aunt Artie, Aunt Liza, Mom, and I was standing off over there in the corner. I thought that was the prettiest picture. And Grandpa was sitting there in that chair and had a big old fireplace going, you know, and the fire was sparkling, letting off lights. And there was this Grandpa of mine and all my aunts, and they all were in a row, lovingly caring for him. And that has always been a beautiful picture. I wish I could have painted it. I can't get it out of my mind. But that was his last breath that he draws.
Well,
He died right there.
And surrounded by his daughters.
All
That
of
was
his daughters
good.
was right around there.
I reminded that story back in North
Mom said one time Grandma was going to have a baby. And so they sent the kids all out and went up the creek, and Uncle Dewey, he slipped back. And said he looked in there and said Grandma was just having the hardest time. Said she was trying to reach up and get a hold of that baby, you know. And said she was just suffering so. And that's about all I know.
She was having the baby all by herself?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Uncle Dewey knew. He went back to see. I don't know what he did, but he felt sorry for his mama. Sometimes he's got a cute picture of Grandpa and John Doyle and Ella Doyle standing outside like, you seen that picture of that man?
Hazel got it.
Hazel's got it?
She showed it to me when I was down there.
Well,
But I don't know him. That's why I had to ask her who that was.
John
Because
Doyle.
I'd never seen him before.
When we lived in the Red House, Grandpa Doyle, John Doyle, used to come visit us with his wagon and his horses. And he was a little driveway like that. And you come up the road, and then you could kind of turn and go in there, or go on up the road farther and turn around and come right up to our house. And so we always loved it when he came. But we had a loving family. They were Irish.
Did they ever speak Irish, or did you always hear them speak English?
Well, Mom had a brogue.
As far as I know.
Do you remember Mom's brogue? She did have some brogue.
Some what?
Mom had a brogue.
Like an accent, like an Irish accent?
You know how you say tomatoes and she say tomatoes? And,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, lettuce, tomatoes, and peas.
yeah, that's the way.
Lettuce, tomatoes, and peas. Yeah, I can remember her saying that. Lettuce, tomatoes, and peas.
I remember Sonia.
What?
Our dog's name is Cynthia. Connect Cynthia.
You remember the dog we had
Yeah.
in West Virginia, what his name was?
Yeah.
Nigger.
Mom.
I can remember when two little girls come down the road and asked me, "What's your dog's name?" I looked at them, I said, "Blackie."
Do you remember time we come home from school one day and these black kids was going to fight me?
Yeah.
And
I was more scared than you were.
said, well, what did you do? And
They said, she called us nigger, and he said something about, well, I ain't helping you then, and he just took off. So I took off too.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen something go past me, but I didn't have a chance to turn around and look.
But I was just little, I must have just been in the first grade.
It must have been, but I can barely remember it.
Well, I think my film's about up, but I sure have enjoyed this.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you taking pictures
Do you
of
think
us.
we could continue this
How you
again?
guys do with your light thing and